Mic'd up.
So, you know, yes, congratulations to Cole is where we're at. I'm sure he's watching. And considering his wife is from where I am, Pleasanton, California, I'm sure his whole family is watching.
You were going with the Oakland A's. What's going on with the Oakland A's? I wish those guys. It only took 50 years to get a new ballpark and a new situation. Good for them. Good for them.
All I've got to say to you is this: I'm losing. They're in Oakland next year. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 25. But I can tell you this: for the $16.63 an hour that they pay me to sit in the box office and not sell tickets, I'm not sure I'm going to move with them to Oakland, to Vegas.
That might be $16 an hour too much.
Well, minimum wage is actually a lot lower in Nevada.
And I don't think they have. Am I right? They don't have income tax.
No. There's no income tax, so I guess they could pay me less, and I'd make the same amount.
This is good.
I think I made about $3,500 for the entire year, and I worked over 40 games. I'm planning on working more this year. What's interesting is that I forwarded it. I think I forwarded it to you guys. Anybody who's on the A's mailing list as a fan got a letter today from the owner. And the owner was talking about how he wanted to stay in Oakland and all the things that he did to try and stay in Oakland, and how he tried to move to Lake Merritt. He tried to move to Laney College. He tried to move to Howard Terminal. And none of the stuff worked. And in 2021, they finally went to Vegas, or Vegas came to them and said, how about here? And they're going to go where the Tropicana was, which when I was in Vegas about 2 months ago, it's a pretty big space. It's, it's pretty much right behind the MGM. And it's a pretty big space right off the strip. It'll be a pretty nice location. But nobody knows what they're going to do in 25, 26, 27, because the new stadium's not going to be ready till 28. And they still have a fight with the teachers union. The only lawsuit pending in Nevada is a lawsuit, I think, for $180 million that the teachers union is fighting, that they're going to put, all this public money into the Oakland Stadium in Vegas, and they feel like it's not going into the school district. But that lawsuit's pending. All the lawsuits out here in California are actually gone, and they were out of the way. It just came down to just a mess. So
this has nothing to do with Oakland, but I'm honored that my bobblehead is nice and safe. I appreciate that. And the only thing is the bobblehead is much better looking than the original, so I'm jealous of him.
Absolutely true.
I don't even see your bobblehead there today, Kramer. Kramer, we know Sturts, if he was watching, he would smash your bobblehead.
Oh,
that's what he did at camp.
There's my bobblehead.
You want to see something scary?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's better looking than me.
We will say this about Kramer's bobblehead. It is the most famous bobblehead of a non-Yankee player, because it was sitting on the desk of somebody at Yankee, I guess it was Tampa, and they did the commercial for the New York Yankees for an entire year. A Kramer bobblehead was in the New York Yankees buy tickets commercial.
Very, very cool.
I think I need some royalties.
You're the lawyer, sue him.
Yeah.
Back to the before we go on the Yankee stuff, I just want to finish up the Giants and the A's. Interesting situation that's opening up now in the Bay Area. And I heard somewhere that there is no other DMA of that size that has only one team. So you've got this massive, massive area with only the San Francisco Giants. New York has two. Chicago has two. Dodgers have two. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Do you think there's ever an instance where they're going to be able to convince another team?
Well, Houston is bigger. Houston's bigger than San Francisco Bay Area, and they only have one.
In total fans? In total audience around? I don't think so. Houston's
what is it? The Bay Area is only about what? I mean, San Francisco is a tiny city.
What's 800,000? But it's the area around San Francisco.
Yeah, but it's only about 5 million. I don't think it's. I would think the Houston metropolitan area has got to be bigger than 5 million.
Maybe we'll see. That I'll look that up later. But I think that's unless one of our voted fans wants to get us back that information.
Yeah. So one of the things they did say, Major League Baseball did say, is that they were thinking about the A's being on the high on the list of potential locations for expansion, but they still got to get a stadium if they're going to expand, and I don't see where that's going to be.
Do you think Houston has more garbage cans and garbage men than San Francisco?
Absolutely, absolutely correct.
Not this
Gotta
week.
get that in there.
Not this week. Not with the APEC here. They cleaned up nice.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Very nice. Did
We've
they?
gone
Where they
far
did that at
astray very
Moscone?
early.
Was that in Moscone or was it?
I have no idea where.
I know they were meeting down in Woodside, but
At a nice mansion. They had to have a nice mansion for President Xi.
gotta have that. Gotta have.
So we've gone far astray very quickly, as with most of our conversations in life.
It's just our attention span. Excuse me, you say something?
Kramer.
So yeah,
I had a funny Kramer story. I wanted to
go
tell.
ahead.
Oh,
It was. I was thinking about it the other day. Um, we were.
how embarrassing is it going to be for me?
It's not too embarrassing. It's very funny,
Good.
and it'll get you more of the women sending you letters saying, "Oh, poor Kramer."
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
get more fan mail for Kramer.
Go ahead.
But I had my 50th birthday party and invited a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of Red Sox fans. I had Mickey Rivers was there. It was a lot of fun, and my brother and sister did a toast and told the story of our life a little bit. People don't know me. Parents died when I was very young, so we had lost both of our parents before I was 14, and my brother and sister were a lot older, and they were just saying all the stuff and talking about our life. And at the end, Kramer walks up to my brother and says, "Steve, I was so moved by your story. I didn't know that you were an orphan." And he said, "Yeah, Kramer." He goes, "I am too." My brother says, "God, Kramer, I had no idea. How old were you when your parents died?" And he said, 41.
It wasn't 41, but it was older than 14.
What did
It
the
was
great
older than
Kramer?
41. He was being nice. Oh,
It's
Well,
not better.
your
One of
50th
the great Kramer stories.
your 50th
oh
birthday party
God.
was 40 years ago, so I don't expect you to have a great.
Yeah.
You
So,
guys,
anyway,
are
sorry. I
fun.
had to go there because we were
That's
talking about the bobblehead.
All right. So the
On to
Yankees,
baseball. On to the Yankees.
on the
The
baseball.
Yankees finished with a winning record for the 31st consecutive year. But there's no way in hell anybody could look at that team now and say that they're one move from contending for even the AL East, much
Correct.
less the World Series. They're also one of the teams in baseball that every year can reshape the entire offseason for all of baseball. The Yankees, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Mets all have tons of money. The Cubs, the Orioles, the Phillies, and Cardinals all seem to have money and are ready to compete again this year as well. And then the Rangers are a wild card because they seem to be spending like a drunken sailor. So with the resources they have, there's a lot of stuff out there. We talked last week about Juan Soto. We talked last week about Bellinger. We talked about the guy I like, Jung-Hoo Lee. We didn't really talk much about Lourdes Gurriel or any of the other outfielders. We talked about potentially trading Glaber. So with regard to pitching, right, I think that their offense is by far their biggest problem. By far. But they are sorely lacking in starting pitching depth and in bullpen depth with the number of losses they're taking in the pen. But I'm confident about the bullpen because the Yankees seem to have a very, very good pipeline of figuring out how to find bullpen pieces, even if it's just for a year or two till they burn them out.
Yeah, I mean, I think depth is the problem, and that's why I disagree with you guys a little bit on the importance of a new starter. I think they definitely need one, but I'm not going to break the bank, and I don't want to hear Cash and Steiny coming out and saying that they're not that we're done for the season because we spent our money. We're done for the offseason. We spent our money on Yamamoto. I mean, that's great, but they first and foremost 1 to 2, maybe 3 bats and left-handed bats with some pop. But you're right. There's no question that they could use some help. I think that the way I see it now, the order is you've got Cole as your undisputed number one, probably anywhere in the league. I say King now. is moved up to a number 2. They'll probably won't want to give that much pressure, but as far as like the guy they feel probably has the most talent in that group, I don't think they can count on Rodon given what we saw last year. And I think that even if he hits a great year and he wins 20, this is going to be our game for the next 5 years. You see him getting hurt. Will he be healthy? I hate that. And Nestor, same thing. I don't know if we have Nestor back, and Schmidt is a wild card. I think he made great strides, but I still think he's at best a 4, most likely a 5. So do you think the Yankees need to slot in a number 2 right now, or a number 3, to really to compete? So what do you guys think? Do you think it has to be a number 2 or it can be a number 3? What do you say? Oh, you don't have to raise your hand, Crane.
Well,
Kramer, the bathroom's down the hall to the left.
no, I just didn't want to
Hall pass, please. Get your hall.
play. Yamamoto would be very nice, but if the Yankees are going to spend big on somebody, it's got to be a bat. I would let Yamamoto go. I'm more intrigued. There's another Japanese pitcher that's coming. I know he's older, but he's going to cost a lot less. I'm more intrigued by that pitcher.
Isn't he the pen, the closer?
No, not that one. Not you're talking about Matsui. I don't. I wish I remembered the other name, but there's another left-handed starter coming out from Japan. He's 30 years old. Apparently has very good control. He's doesn't have the biggest strikeout rate, but that's okay. Just needs somebody to eat enough innings and keep the team in the game. But I know we spoke about Soto last week, and if there's one player that you're going to spend on break the bank or whatever phrase you want to use, Soto's the one. Bellinger has a few red flags. I was looking a little bit more at him, and his hard hit rate was not great. As a matter of fact, it was below average. Now he had a great year because he struck out a lot less and he put the ball in play. You'll take that trade off, and if he pulls the ball, stadium, you'll take that too. So obviously, I'd love to have him on the team, but if you're choosing one big bat, it's Soto. But it can't just be Soto. You have to add, for example, let's say you use Clark Schmidt and you call up St. Louis and you inquire about Brendan Donovan or you inquire about Tommy Edman, a player like that. Edman's a little bit farther along, so he doesn't have as much control left. Maybe that's the trade to make. He's also a left-handed hitter, and he can steal a base. And while he's not a perfect hitter, he can also lead off.
Is it 1 second, Crane? Is it back to the Japanese guy? Is it Shota Imanga?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Shota. Nice name.
Shota Imanga. He's 30-year-old lefty with great control. He had an 8-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, even though he didn't strike out a lot of guys.
That's the guy.
He's referred to as not as good as Senga. How's that from the Mets? But Senga was terrific. So you could be not as good as Senga, but that's still not a number 2. That's a number 3. And my biggest problem with spending money, there is no bat that is worth spending money on. Bellinger's the big bat out there. So I think you spend your assets on getting Soto.
That's right.
And you sign a lesser bat. Now, this is going to be sacrilege, and I can't believe the words are going to come out of my mouth, is they do need a temporary center fielder. Signing, well, I mean, I like Florial, but signing Kmar, how do you say his name?
Kramer-Ryer?
Yeah, Kramer-Ryer. Kmar. For a year or 2 contract, that's your center field problem, especially if you deal assets for Soto. There is just nobody that's a big bat. I'm not giving a 7-year contract to an up and down player like Bellinger, who had not a career year because of his MVP year and his rookie year, but who had a comeback year out of the blue. But and then you also have the issue with Cashman had another fun, exciting week with his mouth, bad mouthing Stanton. And Stanton's agent is the same agent as Yamamoto's. Yeah. So how does Well,
I think you said it in our text the other day that the most money is going to do it, but he just guaranteed that he's going to have to go up and above it.
Right.
He's going to have to pay more. This is going to be brought up in the negotiation, and that. And so they're going to have to deal with it, and there'll be an apology of some sort, and not public, but there'll be something. If he's going to overcome, I think the money is the money, and that's going to be the key there. I agree, but I think it's an unforced error that we're seeing more and more from Cashman. that probably makes his life a lot harder than it needs to be.
Well, he's big ego, and I think you have to have a big ego to be in his job. The question is, when did his ego become so frail that he couldn't take? He did take a pretty good beating the last couple of years, but still, I just, from the pitching standpoint, I'd love to have a 25-year-old Yamamoto. He's going to cost you, 25,000. I wish 25 million a year. They're talking, according to the Athletic, 5 years, 125. Somebody else says 150 for a guy like him. Maybe even the Athletic said 7 and 211 potentially.
Yeah, I think he goes over. I think he breaks 2.
He's going to break 7 and 211, 30 million a year. That
because he'll be
me,
32 years old, isn't it? He'll still have another contract in him.
That's
Can
that's
you
that's
believe
not
that?
where to spend the money. Their offense is so bad they have to spend the money there. And
well, there's nobody to spend the money on unless they trade for Soto and
well,
sign him.
that's what I meant. Trade for Soto. And
All right.
there was a rumor floating around, and this was a head scratcher. All right, Kiermaier, I can understand. Did you see the rumor today that
Argo.
we're talking about Manuel Margot? If there's ever a
He's
player
a
that,
fourth outfielder.
I mean, he's I think he's 30 now, so he's not terribly old.
And another right-hander. I mean, that's what they
Right-handed
need, another right-hander.
and a non-difference making right-handed hitter, a non-difference making right-handed hitter, who
Because they're going to have
basically
to pay him $12 million to do it, to
and
come over.
he can't play center field anymore.
And he won't for long. I mean, he's not a stopgap because he's not that good. You want a stopgap who's going to be better than what they have right now, and they don't have that. I think.
Well, he's better than
cheap.
what they have.
You think?
In left field, he'd be better than what they have.
He's 10 million and 12.5 million for next year. Hard pass. No, don't even consider that.
No, I'm assuming that they're going to get a left fielder.
He's also a guy who gets hurt. He gets hurt frequently, but to his credit, every time he's been in the playoffs and played, he's been very effective.
All right, back to the arms though. I think we all agree Yamamoto would be great if it doesn't preclude them from something that they need, an arm. They need a bat. The bat has to be number one. But you're right, there isn't a lot of money in the free agent market for them. They're not going to spend a lot. I don't know if they're going after. I've got the same concerns about Bellinger that you guys have. So I just don't know if they're going to spend that kind of money. But assuming they want to get they get an arm. I like Yamamoto. What do you guys think about Montgomery? Let's bring him back.
I like him. I think that would be a great fit.
Sounds like he doesn't hate the idea of coming back to the Yankees. He would.
Where did you hear that he didn't hate it? If I was him, I wouldn't come back.
I heard him say that he'd rather go back to one of his old teams, and that could include the Cardinals, than going back to Texas. I don't think he was thrilled with that.
I would love the opportunity for the Yankees to get Montgomery back. He's 30 also.
Yes, he is.
And he's going to be looking. Athletic says 5 and 127, and Major League MLB Rumors says 6 and 150.
Can you believe this guy? And they let this guy go, and now he has to overpay. He's going to have to overpay to get him back when he had him all the time.
If they extended him, think about how much money the Yanks would have saved.
Yeah. Right. Well, not even to extend him, to buy out his last year of arbitration.
Yeah. But the non-analytical team decided that he's not a good pitcher in the playoffs.
He was pretty good this year.
He was pretty good. Yeah. I agree. One guy I don't want them to go anywhere near is Snell.
No, 5 innings.
No, it's another 5 innings.
Not worth it.
Granted, he's a Cy Young winner, but even a 2-time Cy Young winner, actually.
Yeah. Congratulations. But it's going to be incredible money.
Yeah, and he only pitches 150 to 170 innings when he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And
it's not worth it.
No.
I feel the same way about Nola. Not that he's going to get hurt, but I don't like certain aspects of his game that worry me about the Yankees. I think he gave up 32 home runs last year. 202 innings. Struck out a lot. Had a 4.4 ERA. But the home runs would scare me. So I don't think the Yankees are going to go near Nola. And he's going to want a lot of years. What about Stroman? You think Stroman pitched in New York? He's got an attitude. Do you think the Yankees want to go for another? Sorry, if you're listening, Marcus. No offense, but you're a head case. Do we want another head case?
Well, he's not a crazy head case. He handled New York fine. And he's not going to take a long-term contract. I mean, he had a bad second half. He had a really bad second half.
I don't think he's much more than a back end starter at this point.
Right, but the Yankees are looking for depth starters because they have nothing coming up from the minors.
For what
Wait a minute. Wait, let's go back. Let's
Stroman's
talk about that a little.
Stroman's not going to be cheap. For what it costs Stroman, they're better off with the Japanese lefty.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go after this guy. They're going after Yamamoto. There's no question. You don't.
No,
Let's
not
put it this way.
the lefty.
Cashman doesn't get on a plane for 96 hours or whatever it is to him to get there. You know, eating bad food and, you know, smelling the bathroom in the back of the plane for that much time to just go to watch this guy play for the fun of it. He wants this guy. That he's done that before. They're putting on a full court press to get him. And if they want him, they can get him. It's the question is, does he want them? And that's going to be like the money's going to be there. But the question is, will he take it? Would he rather go to the Mariners? Would he rather go to the Giants?
Or the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, the Giants like him too.
Yeah, Dodgers have a lot of money to spend right now. A lot of money came off. They did a good job of managing it. The Giants have a lot of money to spend because they didn't get Judge, even though they offered him all that money.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of guys this year as far as money goes too. And you know, if I'm a pitcher, and I've said this to you guys even before this, if I am a pitcher and I'm a free agent and I'm looking to establish myself or reestablish myself, San Francisco is the place to go because that is not a hitter's park.
No.
It's just not. You go there for some reason. Guys who go there can pitch, and sometimes when they leave there, they continue to pitch. Right?
Mm-hmm. Is it right field? It's so hard, or left field there?
Right.
Well, both are hard, but right field is really hard unless you hit it right down the line, which is what makes what Bonds did that much more amazing.
Well, how many times did he hit in the water?
Well, if you go to Pac Bell, ATT, SBC, Oracle Park, as I like to call it, 4 names in 20 years, they count splash hits, how many people have hit it in the water, but they only count Giants splash hits. So, and I think that, I don't know what the number is, but what's amusing is if you go to Baltimore, if somebody hits it out onto the street out there, they put a little plaque out there where people have hit the ball with their name on it, including the one that Griffey hit off the building. There's a plaque, a brick on the building across from Camden Yards with Griffey Jr.'s name on it because he's the one that hit it over there. Whereas the Giants only count splash hits for their own players.
Well,
another middle of the rotation or end of the rotation guy who seemed to have a little bit of a resurgence in his career is a guy like a Wade Miley, who's going to come cheap on a very short-term deal.
He's all right.
No opinion.
Right. And that's, you know, he's a 3, 4, 5 starter, gives you the depth you're looking for. Because I don't think you could have enough starting pitching. And, you know, the Yankees are in a lot of trouble starting pitching.
All right, but let's look. You said something before. They had nothing coming up. Let's look at the guys. There are 3 guys that stand out. You've got Hampton, Thorpe, and Warren. Thorpe was the guy we were hearing about all year, but Hampton seems to have jumped to the head of the class there. He's now 4th in their, on their top 10, number 4 right. Organizational piece. But Thorpe had a 14-2 this year, 2.52 ERA with a 0.6 WHIP at Scranton. It's pretty good. I'm sorry, at Somerset. And Warren, not as good. He was 10-4 on 2 teams, 3.61, but his WHIP was 130. You got to wonder about a guy who has a 1.3 a WHIP, which means he walks too many guys.
He also allowed 15 home runs in 99 innings in AAA.
Yeah.
So and Hampton's the youngest of the 3 of them. And
how old is he?
He's 22. Sorry, he'll be 22 this season. And he pitched AA. He's projected for a 25 arrival. 2025 arrival. Thorpe is projected to some point in 24 potentially. And Warren is some point in 24 potentially too, but they need some more seasoning in AAA according to various things that we read. There's this other guy, Richard Fitz, who's a 24-year-old guy who they're describing as he's projecting as a right-handed Montgomery. How's that one? But he's 24 and he's only pitched as high as Double A as well. But he had 27 starts in Double A and threw 150 innings.
So the Yankees are now making comparisons to guys that they threw away.
Well, it wasn't the Yankees who compared him. It was
media?
one of the many sites out there that talks about prospects.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot what it was. And there was also I watched today a YouTube page for a guy who's Yankee Knickers or something like that does a video, and he's doing the top 30 prospects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they added Clayton Beater to the 40-man roster, but he projects to be a reliever
because he would have been gone in a second. That was a smart move, and that's great. The best part of that one is that you got him for a pile of pus. I love when you get a top 10 guy for a pile of pus.
That would be Joey Gallo.
Joey, if you're listening or you're on with us today, we are.
I would say it's more like a dirty bag of balls, but that's okay. You know, I read someplace somebody was bitching and moaning that all these guys the Yankees gave away this season in Hicks and Gallo and last season Gallo, and they're talking about all these guys and Donaldson, and they're talking about, oh, these guys made the playoffs. And I'm like, well, Gallo didn't make the roster. Donaldson, you know, didn't do anything in the two games that Milwaukee played.
Yep.
And Hicks didn't do anything in the Orioles during the playoffs either. So, you know.
That's stupid. The thinking that it was a very smart move to get rid of these guys. The dumb move was getting them in the first place.
Well, getting Hicks was not a dumb move. Giving him 7 years was a dumb move.
No, who did they get him for? The guy Ryan, the catcher. That was
John Ryan Murphy.
I mean, Murphy, that's right. And he was a perfectly good player. And I liked him. And especially when he threw 160 miles an hour from center field. It was just like insane. But then he blows out his arm, probably trying to throw the ball 160 miles an hour every time he went out there. And he's never the same as a hitter or anything. And so I don't think the Yankees lost anything there other than money. But it was more stupidity in making that effort, continuing with something. And if Joe Valenza is on the phone with us tonight, I'm right now. You got to give me that, buddy. You got to give me that. Valenza,
so
really
we've got a couple of comments coming in.
Oh, great.
So it's Robbie from the Highlights from Low Life show.
Oh, fans.
We've got some fans. And just to remind everybody, the Highlights from Low Life show is every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And it's a bunch of lowlifes, and I know that because they mistakenly call me their friend. And they talk about subjects of the day, and you get a chance to chime in with a best of list. I know this week's list was the 5 most disappointing baseball careers that people have had.
Good one.
I haven't looked at what they're doing for next week yet. I did hit them with Ben Grieve, Brian Taylor, Steve Howe, Josh Hamilton, and who was my 5th?
I don't agree with Hamilton. I think Hamilton had a great career. It's just very short.
Well,
very
Steve
sad.
Howe was an all-star.
Could have been that much more, but Taylor's tragedy. That's
well, anyhow, Robbie from the Highlights from the Low Life show. Here's what he had to say.
Hi, it's Robbie from the Highlights from Low Life show here on Mic'd Up. I have a question for you. Since the Yankees are looking for both starting pitching and some bullpen help, it probably hurt this week for John Carlos Stanton's agent on Tuesday to basically say, to paraphrase, don't sign with the Yankees. Considering he's also Yamamoto's agent, I feel like this would have some impact. What are your thoughts about this?
On a format front, I think we probably just learned that in the future we should listen to our guys before we start clapping our gums.
That's on me. I did I did listen to it beforehand, and I should have brought him up before we started talking about it, and I'm the one that brought up the agent. So obviously, Mr. Lanterman. I have a funny story about Lanterman. So we're playing baseball, and I'm playing 30s, playing short, and he couldn't. The world's slowest ground ball went to him. The world's slowest ground ball, and he missed it. So the next ball is hit to him again, and it's a hot shot, and he fields it. And I'm playing third, and Matt Schmuck's playing second base. And as soon as he fields this hot shot, we start hysterical laughing that he couldn't field this ball that he could have picked up barehanded because it almost stopped. And then he takes the ball and throws it over the first baseman's head. You've never seen four guys, the first baseman, the second baseman, the shortstop, and the third baseman, laugh so hard at a shortstop throwing a ball into the stands. It was the funniest thing ever. Anyhow, we did hit on Lanterman's question with regard to that. So, sorry, Robbie, I should have put you on before that. That's my bad. Let's hit another question on here. Here's Rob Weber. Oh, Robbie. Oh, he's listening because he said, to be fair, you started laughing as I was throwing, and that's what threw him off. He said I was laughing before he threw it, which I probably was. So tells you a little bit about the style of play that we have. So here's Rob Weber, also a lowlife. Here's what he has to say.
Thinking about relievers, probably the ones that are the most affordable for the Yankees would be Hector Neris, probably Craig Kimbrell, maybe Aroldis Chapman. All of those would come in as setup guys and could be had a little bit cheaper than the high-end guys like Josh Hader. Anyway, I think that would make the Yankees a stronger bullpen.
All right, so I will say this. When he said Kimbrell, I threw up a little in my mouth as I was drinking. And when he said Chapman, I almost cut him off.
You threw up more. Yeah.
I see that guy on the mound. I always feel he's so uncomfortable. It's so off-putting when he gets on the mound.
You mean when he said the name Chapman, you didn't grin?
No, that's just pure comedy. The idea of him coming back.
But what Hector Neris is actually a really good idea as far as I'm concerned.
This is an area that the Yankees find a way. Where there's a will, there's a relative, as they say. They just find these guys and they make it work. I like them. I'd love them to sign Middleton. I'd like them to bring the guy back. He had a good year. He did well in there in the 2 months before he got hurt, of course, because they all get hurt. But we assume they're all going to get hurt. But I think that he liked it. He seemed to be happy here. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after him. But I think they're going to find somebody inside. There's always one of these three guys that we talked about earlier will probably come up as a reliever, probably a long guy at some point, and he'll slot in the way King did. So I see that being the way they go there. I just don't see them spending money.
I think Brito slides in. I mean, we didn't mention Brito when we were talking about
Brito's
starters,
a depth piece.
but Brito is a depth starter, but he also slid in and was extremely effective in that multi-inning reliever role. Him and King sort of swapped places, and Brito was fantastic. 2 innings, 2-3 times a week. 3 innings or 2 innings. He was fantastic out of the bullpen. Yeah. And I think that's a better role for him because I don't think he has 4 really good pitches.
And don't forget, Efros is coming back, so don't forget about him.
Yeah, coming off TJ.
I forgot about Efros.
Efros is coming back, and we'll see about Trevino.
And Efros is not a youngster, right? He's 30.
I don't think he's that old, is he?
Yeah, he's not young.
Oh.
And then, do you want him to bring back a guy like Wandy? Because
why not? I like him as a lefty. What I like about him was that he wasn't a specialist.
No, he's not.
He does things.
They need another lefty in addition. There's no reason why the bullpen shouldn't have at least 2 left-handed relievers.
Well, I think they should bring in Will Smith since he wins the World Series every year.
I happen to like. I think Will Smith in the right role is fine.
As long as you keep his wife's name out your mouth, you'll be okay.
That's it. Yeah.
I have a question from the information superhighway that from my brother Steve. Yep. Can Carlos Rodon become this generation's Fritz Peterson? Scattering 10 hits and 5 walks in a 3-inning and survive.
Well, it depends if his wife's willing to swap with somebody else.
Very good one. Yes, so that's a good point. Rodon did not give us very much last year. There's no question. That was not a good thing.
Rodon actually had his 2 good years that he had before this past one were better than any year Fritz ever had.
Fritz won 20 games one year.
Yeah.
You know that?
Well, Rodon had a great year in San Francisco and a very good year for the White Sox.
Funny Fritz story. When he won the 20 games, he was in Boston last game of the season, and they were supposed to rain out. So he was certain that they weren't going to play this last game. But by some miracle, they did. And he played and he pitched, got through his 5 innings, didn't do well. He was okay. But back then it was like he gave up 2 runs and 3 hits. And this is him in his heyday. And then they took him out. Ralph Howell took him out of the game. And he goes back to the dugout. And he can't watch the last 3 innings or 4 innings, only just too scared. So he says, I can't do it. So he leaves, goes into that little clubhouse that you and I know.
That tiny clubhouse.
And he hides under the trainer's table for the entire game until he hears the guys bust in. He couldn't have any radio. They had nothing going on. He didn't want to know. And he was so happy when they all came busting in and telling him that he'd won the game. And 20 games. How about that? It's one of a great Fritz Priestson story, aside from the great one, of course, that we all know.
Flip Kramer.
Yeah.
So 2 guys I want to ask you about. One's a lefty. Seemed to have rejuvenated his career a little bit as well as a reliever this year. Shouldn't cost very much. Should be short term. Matt Moore.
I like Matt Moore as a relief pitcher. Yep.
And then the other guy that I wanted to talk about, because I do think the Yankees need to move Holmes out of the closer position. I mean, we are the most spoiled fan base in the history of mankind, because we had 17, 19 years of Rivera.
What was that guy's name again? I totally forgot.
Who? Rivera?
That's it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. 17, 19 years of Rivera. And then, quite frankly, we had a good 6-7 year run with Chapman where he was unbelievable until he just lost it. So this guy, the Japanese closer, where I think Adam referenced him earlier, is a guy named, and the Yankees have had luck with the guy's name Matsui. It's Yuki Matsui. He's 28 years old. They're talking about him only needing about $8 million a year on a short-term contract if he comes over.
If that's the cost, all for it.
So,
I think they could. I think they could actually add both of them. You add them both, then that means you let Wandy go. Peralta, we like him, but there were some dangers on him. His fielding, FIP, and everything else did not align well ERA. So he got lucky. He was very lucky last year. His walk rate was way up, and he's got the guts of a burglar. I mean, we on the mound we know that, but if the Yanks got Moore and Matsui, then you have to let Peralta go, or you sign Peralta and one of those other 2.
The other thing that I think the Yankees, it would happen with Peralta is the same thing would happen with Tommy Kahnle. I think that both Kahnle and Peralta threw too many changeups. I mean, his velocity was in the upper 90s, 96, 97. Kahnle's velocity was back in the mid to upper 90s, and yet, at a certain point in time, throwing six or seven, which they both did, changeups in a row, is just too many. You got to show guys different looks.
I can't remember the hitter that victimized him, but there was a game where he did that. He threw changeup after changeup, and finally the hitter got around on one, and that was it. It was a
game winner, walk off. I think.
Right? Kahnle 2 games in a row. I think
it was either a walk off or a hit or a home run that gave the opposition the lead. But yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, Peralta's got better stuff. He doesn't have to throw just changeups, but I like Moore and Matsui.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can't have enough bullpen pieces, and I do think the Yanks develop bullpen pieces. They burn them out just as quick. Ron Marinaccio. When these guys overperform, you got to be ready to move on from them very quickly. And I think Peralta's been around now for 3 years. I think he might have, played his hand. They got rid of Kahnle, and then he went and he had Tommy John surgery, and he came back after Tommy John surgery, and he's pitched effectively last year. Efros decided to come over and get Tommy John surgery.
Always nice of them to do that. I love
I
when
know it's
when
always
they
nice
come
that
to
the
the
Yankees
Yankees
medical staff's on that.
because our medical staff is great, and also the guys who take care of our guys. Kramer, your nose is there. It is. There, show us. There it is.
That's all right. It's a nose hair show.
Do you think the Yanks will be so cheap where they're gonna bring back Mike Ford and maybe sign Mike Talkman? That's your
uh,
God.
Ford and Talkman. That'll be two guys. I think Rob Ruffschneider will be back as well.
oh.
No, the Red Sox like him.
I have news for you. He had a pretty good year. He played everywhere
Yeah,
for them.
they like him. They like
He's
him in Boston. Not a
he's
bad player.
no, he can't play shortstop, but
No, he's a left fielder. He's an
he
outfielder.
plays second, he plays third, he plays first, he plays corner outfield. Played some center for them even this year. But there's other guys that are out there, like Liam Hendricks is not back till August, so it's nothing to think about. Josh Hader, that's where I would not spend the money as much as I think he's a great closer. I don't think the Yankees should spend the money on that. Jordan Hicks, if they can get him cheap on a 1-year deal, might be worth a flyer, even though he had a bad time his second half. Do they bring back David Robertson?
I think Robertson would be great. Just as I wouldn't make him a closer. I wouldn't do that. I would give it. If you're going to do that, do what he likes to talk about, where he puts pieces out there. He does a committee. I don't believe in the committee necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if. I don't think that they think Holmes is the guy either. I don't think he always says it. They always talk the talk, but I don't think they feel that they can't count on him. Falls apart too easily. Hello, Kramer, you're back.
Sorry, I'm back.
Falls apart too easily out there, and it's just not ideal. So I think you could see them if they don't pick somebody up like this guy Matsui. If they don't go that route, you could see them bring somebody with experience in to balance a little bit. But
yeah, and I think Loizaga has the stuff, but not the head.
Yeah, no.
But he's never healthy. What difference does it make?
Is he done? Is he out now with something?
No, he's fine.
Is he finally healthy?
But he only has one more year before he's a free agent. Just that's it. One more.
So I would hold on to him, especially because in the contract year, these guys have a way of figuring out how to stay healthy.
Amazing.
It's just, yeah. So I think we beat the heck out of the pitching today.
Yeah. Okay. Enough pitching. What about? I want to ask you guys. So, what do we think about the coach? This guy, this hitting, Rosen. I like what he's been saying so far. I was amazed to read it. Like, multi-pronged approach, looking at different things, not worrying so much about launch angle, a little bit less about hitting the ball hard and more about just hitting it. How about just hitting the ball?
Well, he didn't say no launch angle. He said hitting it hard. But what I did like that he said is that each guy's swing and each guy's way of hitting is unique, and you have to coach the guy for what his skills are. And I'm a big proponent of that, because you could just look at, granted, we're retired players, but you look at our three idiot swings.
Hey, I'm still good. I'm better now than I was.
News for you. If you look at our three idiot swings, not counting Kramer's right-handed swing, which is not worth mentioning, Kramer's left-handed swing is the best of the bunch.
Yeah, he's got a nice when he makes contact. Kramer, you have beautiful lefty swing.
You don't like my right-handed swing, huh?
I'm afraid of it. It's Kramer, only person I know who gets up. You'll hit a bomb from the left side, and then you'll get up the next, and you'll go, do you think I should bat righty or lefty? Like, Kramer, you just hit a bomb.
I'm gonna
do it again.
I'm gonna advertise to the world. I don't usually do normal,
Well, Kramer, leave switch hitting to your dating life. Don't put it out there for your baseball life. Bat left-handed. I'm telling you, when you come out next year for the Monterey tournament, bat left-handed. If you bat right-handed, I'm going to have to talk to the other team about throwing at you.
Love it. I agree. Hey, I have a trivia question for the two of you. What do these men have in common, other than the fact that they were Yankee captains?
Was that Gehrig and Munson?
All right, we're going to show it's Gehrig.
Gehrig and Munson.
And it is Munson.
What do they have in common? They didn't have their wife swap with Fritz Peterson?
They did not wife swap.
clearly Kramer and I have no clue because there's Kramer's showing off his nose hairs, and I'm just silent.
They both died in the middle of their baseball careers, you know, which is very sad.
Garrett retired and didn't.
Well, Garrett retired, but I mean, he's still playing baseball. It was not
that's a little stretch. That's not like Ted Lilly and Thurman Munson, right?
Ted Lilly. That might be a good. I don't have his bobblehead.
I actually like Ted Lilly, but then they went and they traded him for Jeff Weaver. That didn't work out either.
Well, it didn't actually work out for Ted Lilly too, didn't he? Isn't he the guy that crashed?
No, you're wrong.
No, that's Corey Lytle.
Corey Lytle.
Oh, Corey Lytle. Sorry, it was Corey Lytle. Sorry.
Ted, if you're listening, if you're on,
there you go.
We're so happy you're here.
I'll take Yankees and accents for $200, Alex. No,
thank you very much.
No, it was Corey Lytle, but I don't have his bobblehead. I'm so sorry. Okay. But no, I mean, I think that both captains, the irony of it, I mean, a sad thing.
So, Kramer, I don't think you were on before, but I said this to Adam about the Yankee starters. In 2008, after the 2008 season, the Yankees went out and signed CC Sabathia and AJ Burnett. The rotation in 2008 was Andy Pettitte, Mike Mussina, and who had the third most starts of any Yankee in that year, 2008?
Chad Gordon.
No, that was 2009, but
you're close.
It's a guy who never pitched or played in the major leagues after 2008. Who?
Aaron Small? No, it was 2004. I'll get. Let me have a couple of more guesses. So, who had the most starts?
You'll never get it.
Pettitte
You'll never get it.
Mussina had 34.
Sean Chacon?
No. Darryl Rasner had 20 starts.
That's right, Darryl Rasner. Yep.
And Sidney Ponzone had 15 starts. How these guys aren't at Yankee fantasy camp, I don't know.
Ponzone's fatter than we are too.
Yeah. All right. I think we've beat this to death today. Had a little bit of fun. Got a little distracted. We're not going to have a show next week for Thanksgiving. I'll probably
come
turkey on the board. What?
Let's do it anyway. Come on.
I'll do it.
The bird. Between the bird and the pie.
We've got. We're hosting here. My wife would love for me to get the hell out of the way and just come in here at 4:00 my time here in California.
It's all right. 2 weeks. We're going to give our fan a break next week, and
well, Kramer's got all the fans. The women are just throwing underwear at the screen as we speak.
Oh yeah.
I there's like 30 messages that I'm getting here about who's the great looking guy with the big nose.
And that could be any one of the three.
Any one of us.
And what's really funny, Dan Kramer, I think those are all from Joanne.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
If you want my problems, buddy. I'm gonna get it later. Am I gonna?
I think just to give you guys a preview of what's going on over the next couple of weeks before the winter meetings, we're going to start to talk about our favorite Yankee moments, both as fans and at actual games. Mm-hmm. Sadly, one of my favorite moments was completely destroyed soon afterward because I was at the perfect game this year in Oakland. But we'll also talk about how the Yankees players, like how does Rizzo stack up as compared to what the competition is in the division, as well as, let's talk about the teams in the division and why they're better than the Yankees are right now.
Always coming at it from a positive. I love that.
Yeah, that's me, Mr. Positive. Ask anybody that knows me. I'm always looking at the sunny side. The only thing I like on the sunny side are my eggs.
The broad side of life.
All right, guys, we'll speak to you. And this will be on the previously, and I'll send out next time. We'll talk more, and I'll put our link for YouTube out there for everybody to see as well. Bye-bye, guys.
Later.